Ladies, grab the places and unbelievable.
Going down in a nice town. The first kid took us to the smell
Hey. Good morning. It is 6:31. It is September 29th, first day of the week, last week of the month. Let's make it a good one, my dogs. Hopefully everyone's feeling good. Everyone's like, Red Dog, why the hell are the futures up 35 handles? I'm like, I don't know. All I know is that, last week the Bears had a chance. We came in, tested the 21-day. Spies held the 21, took back the 8-day. So obviously the Bears kind of had no power again. We all had the same time to cover some hedges, getting back involved in names, showing relative strength, and move our feet. And, if you didn't move your feet, you didn't move your feet. Anyway, my name is Scott Redler. I am the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com. I am the founder of Red Dog Mindset. Hopefully everyone's feeling well. This is the 630 Club. I've been doing this for free since 2020. Pretty much lining up with my dogs around the world, going over levels in all the indices, some names to focus on, some setups to make cash flow. At times we're extremes when no one knows what's happening in the world. So I try and have a smooth voice, considering I've been doing this since 1998. I'm 50-something years old and lived through lots of different market cycles. And anyway, this sequence has been strong. We've been above the 8 and 21 day for quite some time. Every few weeks is a different rotation. But for now, not much has changed. Let me say hello to some of my dogs. How is strong New York? I'll post a video in a little while. It was awesome. I'll tell you, thousands of people from New York, New Jersey, all coming to the city, all sharing what they do best and trying to train and teach, and so everyone can become better versions of themselves. And really, people say, what's the key to life? Well, one of the keys is just becoming a better version of yourself, working on yourself, and becoming good for everyone else too, because that usually happens in the mix. What up, John Boston? What up, Tony Starks? October, yes, we started to position in some Bitcoin for an October into Thanksgiving. So Bitcoin being up is very good. It's nice. A lot of little things are working right now. A lot of little things are up. But anyway, so Blair saying, good morning, Amazon. I do have Amazon on, but I'm not so enamored by it. We have some setups. Let's go through some setups. So what do I think? Some people like Red Dog, you've been awesome in Tesla. Some guys are subscribed to Red Dog Mindset, which is the button on Twitter, just because they made a ton of money, because I was here at the 630 Club talking about how we were going to add to Tesla right here around 355, 357, and what a nice move. So here we are again. Like I showed you, the SPYs, the Qs went to the 21-day last week. This went to the 8-day, so it's still showing you it's special. It's not up a lot this morning, but that's good. I do think that there might be a really nice trade through this 444 area to see 465 to 488. Just a matter of whether it's going to be today or not. It's only up 320 this morning. I'm already long. I'm long some options. Question is, will it get through there? We'll see. Doesn't have to be today, but maybe it will, maybe it won't. Kenneth says RR. Yeah, RR has been a good, there's so many different things. The small caps are working. Energy worked. I was here last week with you guys talking about energy. I was buying the XLE contracts down here. I keep buying the XLE only into support. And for the first time, it actually gave you a 4-day move. So while the S&P and the Qs corrected, the XLE was a nice trade. So anyway, not a barn burner, but it was a pretty decent trade that I think a lot of guys made some extra cash. So all you got to do is just try and keep making quality setups and making some money. So okay, I did buy some RR back. You want to go over RR? Again, this is just a little robotics name. The real money trade was here. Like, this is when I started buying it on this candle, accumulated, and wow, I got out of it into the fives. So if you got it out into the fives, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll buy some back, versus the 21-day down here. So again, this is not really a focus. I shouldn't even have brought that up, but that's fine. Google's been a top-notch name in the Mag 7. It's true. It's kind of consolidating. It gave you a really nice move starting around here. It started all over again and then went as high as 256. It showed some relative strength. Came in, held above the 21-day. It's resetting up. I don't know if there's a money trade here, but it's definitely better than some other names. I think Microsoft is getting better. Look at that wedge in Microsoft. Wow. Look at that wedge in Microsoft. I would think that this could be something this week that shows some outperformance. A lot of, I think I put it on as a power play already on Friday, where we bought the 520 calls a week or so out. Where's Microsoft this morning? Microsoft is up only 2. So actually, tech's not really doing that much. Like, look what the SPYs are up. The SPYs are up, up 360, and this is just hanging here. But look, it's looking decent. Lately, I haven't been able to buy any strength in a name like Microsoft or Meta or those guys, but they're rebuilding. So we'll see what happens with Tesla today. Does it hold and get through 445 for an extra trade? It was stronger on Friday. SPYs, up 360 after holding the 21-day last week and reclaiming, the 8-day. Microsoft's decent. Apple has been really good. Apple, I think, is it's almost like a contrarian trade now. It's down 50 cents. I still think you could accumulate Apple. This chart looks good. It's got a nice upper bull flag here. If you wanted to say, hey, what's showing relative strength? Well, this is above the 8-day. It's going sideways. Here's the 260 high from December 24th of 2024. I would think it takes that out. Some people like, Red Dog, the Bears are going to put a double top in. All right, maybe they'll try. It's fine. But we'll see. So people like Red Dog, how are you accumulating, crypto for your turkey trot? Every year I do a turkey trot, and crypto does its own turkey trot. It usually starts in October through November by the time Thanksgiving happens, and your mother-in-law is talking to you about Bitcoin, and the Uber driver is talking about it, and it's at a new all-time high. I'm like, you know what? Why don't you guys buy some IBIT now? So I started to buy some calls for October. So why not buy a little bit down here just in case it starts to move, and we'll see if this move gets started. It's up $1, up 2.7%, not so bad. So again, there's a lot of things going on. Gold, my boomer friends are killing it in gold and silver. We made some money on a decent setup. I'm not hyper focused on it, but wow, look at the GLD. The GLD is just moving along. You had a really nice setup here. This is when I liked it. This is when I put on a pretty juicy call spread right here. And now it's just trending above the 8-day, trending and trending and trending. That's good. You know what? Nvidia. You want to talk Nvidia? I'll talk Nvidia. Nvidia looks decent. Nvidia has this nice upper channel. I would say, it wasn't ready to break out above 184.55 last week because the market wasn't, ready to go. I would think that this, I'm not long Nvidia, and I feel like I should be long a little Nvidia. I don't know if I'm going to buy it on the open, but if you look at Nvidia right now, it's up $1.26. It's building. I would think this, Nvidia by the I don't know when, but by the end of the year could be 200 plus. And if you're long actively, like what I do for my dogs is I frame trades. So just say you're like, hey, how do I frame Nvidia for the next week or two? Well, you could be long verse, 173. And if it happens to get above and stay above this spot, which is like 180, and holds it with volume, you could add to it for them potentially a move to fill this void, get above 184.55 and go. Overall, looks pretty good. It does. It's not, every time. Sometimes you need a little bit of consolidation. Right now, that's what Nvidia is doing. It's consolidating. But again, you could be long verse 173, stays above 180. You have room to here, and it's looking pretty good. Pretty good. It's a psychedelic pharma company. You know what, Sam? It's interesting. So you want to talk psychedelic pharma companies? Which one are you talking about? I was at MNMD. Let's see. At Strong New York. Oh, it's like there's no volume here. Is that the right? Yeah, MSOS, is up 25%. That's good. I have a big private placement in Cannabis that I have a 6 figures stuck in. So if that can come public, sizzler for everybody. But anyway, so So let's talk about psychedelics for a second. So there was a speaker up there. His name was Austin, and he was talking about microdosing, basically talking about how there are a lot of individuals that don't want to drink alcohol anymore because it's toxic for your liver, for everything, and they're all doing microdosing, like twice a week, some little chocolate, and it's actually being proven that it's increasing your mental flow, like the synapses that go up and down and connect in your brain. The little microdosing is, rekindling the thought process. And there's a movement about microdosing versus alcohol. I don't do it. I just thought it was interesting. I sat in on the speech, and it seemed like the place was packed because everyone's trying to learn about whether or not microdosing is real, and it could really, have you think and perform better, and also have some fun without swishing your liver with alcohol. Anyway, so what are you looking at? You're looking at Tilray today because MSOS is up a lot. What's Tilray? Here, let's go into this little group for a second. So MSOS is up $1. Okay, 24%. So when I think of MSOS, you think of Tilray, only up 22 cents. I think of ACB, up 67 cents. Remember CGC from back in the day? That's up 25 cents. This group's been so battered and bruised. Let's see, where was MSOS the last time everyone got optimistic about it? It was up here. I didn't get back involved. I made really good money in Cannabis Group, down here. And then I got out of the way, and it's fine. Listen, if all of a sudden you get safe banking and this and that, I've been locked in this private placement since 2020. Let it come public, and Red Dog will be happy. But anyway, bong rips for everyone? No bong rips. But anyway, what are you in college? So with that said, 602 was the last high for Cannabis. Look at that. And it's up $1. So there's some room here. See how much of today's gap up holds. I wouldn't be chasing this move today, but if you've been accumulating it because you thought Trump was going to come out and be cannabis friendly, well, you're getting paid today. Good for you. That's cool. So someone's like, there are 2 names that I'm accumulating that could have some news in the next week. One of them is QS. Okay, a guy on my really reliable individual on the Alpha team loves this name, loves the company, and thinks that it's going to get a big deal with an OEM for its, I guess, dry battery storage. So I've been buying some options for it to take out this 14-15 area for a week or two from now, which I went out to 2 weeks just in case, give it some time. So that's one name that's technically acting pretty well too. It's above the 8-day when everything came in. So I've been accumulating that. I also started accumulating this again, UMAC, which is a little drone company that Don Jr. is on the advisory board. At some point in the next week or two, I think there's going to be some contracts coming out where the government's going to be buying, drones from companies, and why not from Don Jr. So anyway, I started buying some calls into this pullback. We had a really nice move here. So, you have other names besides your go-to names, so, right now in Mag 7, my focus is really Tesla and Apple and a little bit of Microsoft. In semis, I think Nvidia is good. And then if you in some of the small caps, I like this one, this UMAC. I like QS. I did buy a dip in RR. We'll see, what goes on here. I sold it into the 520s. I'm still accumulating Wolf. Yes. It's a little loose and wide, but anyway, it's It's holding the 21 days, so I'm still buying that. At some point, crypto gets going, and in October and November, I think this thing's going to be $14 to $18. QS says, so you're always going after the sisters and the ugly cousins. I go after the leaders, Kenneth. Thoughts on eBay? What is this, 1988? No, I'm kidding. eBay, let's see what that looks like. So it looks all right. They have a big gap here, held the gap, holding, digesting. Doesn't look so bad. I don't really know that many people that use eBay anymore, but I don't talk to that many people anymore either. So maybe they do. Shop, let's see what Shop looks like. Somebody is asking me, Shop. Kind of came in pretty hard. This candle was pretty ugly. Would have got me out of it right there. And now it came into the 50-day. So, again, you want to be things that are showing relative strength. So this came to the 50-day while the S&P and the Qs went to the 21-day. So Shop is not acting special, and sometimes it's tough. I guess you could say it was better than Amazon, at least, right? Amazon, wow, all the way to the 100-day. So we'll see if Amazon has a better bounce this week. I'm not hyper focused on it. I guess you could put this here now. This was what? This was 216. Where could it bounce to? I guess it could bounce back towards the moving averages. You look back on this trade and you're like, why was I even long this thing? You had an inside wedge, it was below the moving averages and broke lower. That's not a great trade. Take the name out of it. Take Amazon, out of the name, and this was a short versus, Amazon with colored glasses. But anyway, you'd go PayPal over eBay. Probably. Let's see what PayPal looks like. This PayPal is kind of tight. It's not showing any relative strength. It's been out of play for a while. It depends on where you want to live. I'm an active trader. I trade for a living. I'm going to get paid for the quarter. The quarter ends in a few days. So I want to be in the things that are moving. I want to be in the things that are acting better than the market. So sometimes it's hard to tell what those names are. But as of right now, if I were to make a pecking order for the Mag 7, I think, Tesla is number one right now. It might not get above this today, but, it's one of my biggest positions. I think Apple's been great. It also, but you have to be careful because 3 months ago, it was Meta, it was Microsoft and Google, but we'll see. Palantir, okay. Looks good. Palantir is hanging up here, looking solid, looking like it could break out into an all-time high, start to flex its muscles again. Yeah, Palantir looks good. I'm not in this right now, but I could be if I was paying attention here. Looks pretty good. That looks good. It's been a great stock. Coin and Mister. I would stay away from Mister. When you have your high like Mister, when Mister's not acting as strong as Bitcoin, you might as well buy Bitcoin, IBIT. If you wanted to do something in Ethereum, yeah, BMNR is pretty good. It's hanging here. It's probably up a lot today because Ethereum's up. This another is going sideways. Yeah. I personally, I'm going to focus a lot more on the ETFs and the double the ETFs versus these offshoots of whatever it is, unless there's like a really great pattern. Last time I focused right here when it was at like 32 and we made a lot of money. I guess you could say it's here again. It can go back up towards this area. So yeah, it's cool. What Rivian actually showed relative strength when the rest of the market came in. It's not a barn burner. Maybe get to 17. We were buying it in here. It's got some room up towards 17 plus, so that's decent. Well, that's it. Listen, guys, it's 6:49. Some guys, listen. If you're listening to all those guys out there that say this is going to end well, we're in the process of our 10% correction. Well, if the bears can't keep us below the 21-day moving average for a day, then you can't be following those type of guys. He was here. Remember, I got a little actively bearish too. I got a little overhedged here also. But then when we held the 21-day, I adjusted. And then especially when you took back the 8-day like that, the bounce on Friday, the action on Friday wasn't feeble, wasn't great, but wasn't worthy of coming in today net short, hating the world because the S&P futures are up 35 handles. Market's been strong. The active sequence has been fluid. There's been lots of things to do. Turn the TV set off and stop listening to all the bears or listen to all the people that say it's not going to end well, because that's not a trading plan. A trading plan is defined. A trading plan has parameters. I set parameters to define risk with a tier system and a day count rule and try and net people money. Anyway, with that being said, don't forget Blue Dome Sky contract soon, ASTS. All right. ASTS has been decent. I had a decent move with this here. I didn't buy it back yet. We had this money move, which was awesome. Kind of got out of it right around here. Bought some for a trade the other week, and yeah, it looks good. Like my friends still think this is going to be 80 to 100 in the next 6 months. So we'll see. All right, guys, listen. For those of you who enjoy the 630 Club, who have been making money, and you're not, if just say you never joined the Alpha team or you're not part of Other All Access, make sure to subscribe above to Red Dog Mindset, because in the next few months, 630 Club might become a premium product, and you want to be grandfathered in at $10. Today, this cost me $5. 5 times 4 is what? 20. 20 times 4 is 80. I spend $80 on coffee. If I could spend $80 on coffee, you could spend $10 on 40 cents a day to get your levels done prior by, and go over what's in play and get some setups. And, if you trade for a living, you should be hanging out with us on the Alpha team. We're here all day long. A lot of guys putting in a lot of really good content. They're navigating the course sometimes when I'm going to the city to be on the networks, or I have things to do as the chief strategic officer versus being a trader. So, if you feel like you're trading alone and you need a crew, Alpha team is here for you. If you piece things together and you get enough from the 630 Club and you want to get your mind right because you feel like you're not executing with confidence, then you better join the subscribe button above for Red Dog Mindset. I already did my workout this morning with a few hundred of my friends around the world. The 2520 is awesome. We do some education on the weekend, and again, be part of a community. And there's a lot more strength in numbers than doing it on your own. So with that said, strong choices, strong often, strong mind, strong life. Go for it, my dogs. Have a great start to the week. It's going to be a good day.